But let's start with the sunrise of the reaping. Okay, so this is going to be a little spoiler heavy, but it's kind of a given that Haymitch was in the Hunger Games. So if you don't want to watch this and you haven't read the book yet and you don't want any spoilers, come back to it and you can check this out. Anyways, love the Hunger Games books. Didn't read the first one when it came out. I didn't actually start reading them until I watched the movies. I watched the movies and I was like, I need to know what happened. So I started reading the books afterwards. I read the Snow book. I forgot what that one's called. Like the Ballad of Song and Snake, I think it is. Bird and Snake or something. I don't know what it is. You know what I'm talking about. But this one was a lot better than the previous book that just came out. And I don't want to disparage this book, but one thing I will say about this book, very sad. But I had some questions and I had some thoughts. First thought, I thought the book was really good. It was a really compelling story of how Haymitch won his Hunger Games specifically. But I think I had some issues with how he was as a character in this book compared to how he is a character when he's presented on screen, right? And I get that, like, time has passed. So it starts at the second quarter quill, the 50th Hunger Games. Haymitch is 18, okay? So 25 years later, or 24 years later, that's when Katniss enters her first Hunger Games with Peeta. And then they have the 25, they break up, and then the rebellion all starts, kind of thing. But it kind of it interprets this idea, which I guess makes sense, that there's been this underlying rebellion happening for 25 years. I guess that's my biggest question is, if this rebellion has been happening for 25 years, why did they wait all the way till Katniss got in there to make real progress? I guess they needed someone to really capture the rebellion spirit, and Katniss did that in a sense. But you'd think they'd be better at it, you know what I mean? From the books that we got, like, after they start the rebellion, you think they'd be better at it, because it seems like Snow, menacing as he is, doesn't play strategy very well, and is kind of like just lets people do whatever they want. Like, I don't know how he doesn't figure out that Plutarch is secretly against him all this time, right? Especially if he's like orchestrating bombs and things of that nature in the Hunger Games 25 years before the actual rebellion happens. Okay? That's my first question. That seems like, I think I get what the author's doing, is she's trying to play at these seeds, like they've been building up to this point, and Katniss was the catalyst that really opened up the thing. But I think I have some problems with that. For one, it doesn't seem like it's very planned out with Katniss. Because we have Catching Fire, where, yes, there's a plan, and she's not, like, privy to that plan, and obviously they're in connection with District 13 at some point, right? And I guess he has to make those connections, so I guess I get it. But then it's like, so he's been building this connection for 25 years. That seems kind of unlikely, right? That seems like, so it took 25 years for you guys to even develop a plan while you're just letting kids get slaughtered and blasted in the arena for 25 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where it's like, it's hard to take, or maybe it was like, not everyone was fully into the plan, and then it just took continuously coming back to the Hunger Games. Because that's the thing, is like, if you win the Hunger Games, you have to come back and be a mentor, right? So it's a never-ending remembrance of the atrocities that you did in the arena, right? And I guess that would make someone drink. So I guess I understand that, because from where Haymitch was, and he loses everything. Like, he loses his girl, he loses his family. Not only does, and he murders people in the arena. But I guess, what was their plot? What? So their goal was to not die to not die without a fight, basically, is what I'm sensing, right? So their goal is like, I'm going to blow up the arena and mess with the Hunger Games and ultimately kill my family, to be frank. I don't know if that's a great strategy, especially if you're trying to plan a rebellion, because then you're orchestrating that you are a rebellion. And there's the thing. This is why it's hard for me to take, and this is like a prequel book. So she had the Hunger Games, and then she's coming back and filling in the holes. But it seems like she's creating a little bit of holes here. And obviously, I don't know. I think the next book should be Finnick O'Hare's story. I think that would be a great story to tell. 14 years old in the Hunger Games. Nuts. Anyways, she's filling all these holes, which I get it, and I like it. I've enjoyed this book, and it'd be great to see this one as a movie. The Ballad of Songs and Snake, I think it's called. Hold on. Hunger Games books. So let me order them here. What is it called? Yeah, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So it's essentially President Snow origin villain story, right? It starts the 10th Hunger Games, and then he kind of creates what the Hunger Games is now, where it's betting. It's basically like the Super Bowl, a multi-day Super Bowl that people can bet on and give gifts to and fall in love with characters. And then they slaughter each other in a gladiator-style Royal Rumble. Great concept of a sport. Obviously, I wouldn't participate, but a great concept of a sport, man. You got like the gladiator Roman Colosseum on steroids with the Super Bowl, and you combine them. Beautiful concept. Then, so he falls in love with his lovebird, which is I forgot what her name was. What is her name? I don't know. She's the very first Hunger Games for District 12 winner. But you see Snow is helping her. And he's actually created these games, but he's still helping her. So it's becoming more of a spectacle kind of thing. But then he kind of feels like he has ruined his life. So he goes in with his love, and they try to escape to District 12. And he thinks that his life is over, so he's going to run away with his love. Turns out he miscalculated, and people at the Capitol had no idea he was even involved, or if they did, they didn't say anything. So he murders some people, and then he tries to kill his love of his life. Boom, movie's over, or the book's over. The book I thought was a lot better than the movie they portrayed. I gotta watch it a second time, because the first time I watch it, I listened to the book and I was like, this is not the same story. I think they try to focus too much on the Hunger Games aspect, where this was more outside of the Hunger Games. And I think the director kind of, like, he thought Hunger Games, so he thought he had to focus on this. But that story, like, most of the characters die before the Hunger Games are happening. And so it's like this orchestration by Snow. Anyways, you see full villain flip from Snow, and then he rises to power. Now he's President Snow during this book of The Sunrise on the Reaping, right? Still a menacing guy, poisoning people, killing people, killing Haymitch's family. That's a spoiler, so you know. But then, like, is he dumb? Can he not figure out there's people in the rebellion? And yes, and I think it's Beatty. His son is, as punishment, is put into the Hunger Games and is killed like crazy by some killer squirrels, and they only want him. And yes, that, like, I guess he's more maniacal because he wants to see people suffer, but he's kind of a doofus if he can't see that there's a rebellion taking place. Anyways, it was a really good book. I recommend reading it. I just have some questions like that specifically. And then Haymitch is twisting to this drunk that doesn't care about anything. You kind of see it. He kind of plays that role in this book where he kind of turns on the charm, becomes a scoundrel, right? Not a rebel, because they don't like rebels. They like scoundrels, right? But then you don't really see him even drinking until, I guess, at the end, when he poisons his woman by giving her a gumdrop that Snow poisoned, and then Snow lighting his people on fire, right? So, like, I get that would drive you to drink, that loss and that thing, but it seemed like he was just, like, out of it completely compared to the character they portrayed. But you do see him still caring in the Hunger Games movies, so maybe it's not as bad as I'm thinking. Maybe that transition to being a drunk is easier. I've never been a drunk, so I don't know how enticing or how easy that is to be it. Overall, great book. Excited to see this in a movie. I'm curious, like, how many books she's gonna do. I guess she's gonna go in because they keep selling, right? And this book seems very popular because Haymitch is a very popular character. I really enjoyed the book. Had some great stuff in there. There's some complaints about the book specifically, like Haymitch is reciting all his poetry or songs or something, and I get this because his connection with the Covey, his woman, Lenore White, or I can't remember her name. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she's a Covey and she's a singer, so she's singing all these songs, and so he has all these songs in his head, and after he's mourning her, all these songs are going on, and I get that. It's a little bit like, it's like, come on, bro, like, come on. And again, he's a kid, like he's still a kid, not quite 18 there, or no, he's not even 18, right? Because you wouldn't get reaped if you're 18. I don't even know how old he is. Anyways, I would give this book a solid 8. Like, this is a really good book. It's not perfect by any means. There's some things I didn't like about it. Like, his whole plot of trying to blow up the arena, I just thought was like, if he was trying to do that, as maniacal as Snow is, I think he would have just murdered him. I don't think he would have let him continue going and then win. Like, that seems like he would not do that. As much as he even hates winners. And maybe he didn't hate winners as much during this time. So, I don't know. And then, like, you see all the other characters that you love. Like, Effie's in this one. And you see that she's kind of why she was brought from District 13 after the 25th, the third quarter, the third quarter quill. Yeah, right, 75. But anyways, it was a good book. Recommend you read it. I don't know if I am an expert on this, but I thought it was a really fun read. Okay,